Am I the a-hole for not letting my bio dad and his wife adopt me and refusing to comply with family therapy? There's a lot of background, but I'll condense it down for everyone and make it easy to follow. My bio dad walked out when I was a few months old. He and my mom weren't married, and the three of us had lived with bio dad's parents. After bio dad walked out, me and mom continued living with them. My mom died when I was 3. Before she died, she had my grandparents adopt me. She got my bio dad to sign off on it, which he did, and my aunts and uncles said he was happy to do it. Grandpa died when I was 9 and my grandma when I was 13. Grandma tried to get him to take some interest in me after Grandpa died, but he didn't. I lived with my uncle for a few months until my bio dad fought for custody and won. I didn't know my bio dad at that point. The only time I saw him was at Grandpa and then Grandma's funerals. I was almost 14 when I sent to live with my bio dad and his family. I'm 17 now. I didn't want to live with my bio dad. I wanted to live with my uncle or any of my aunts and uncles. I know them, grew up with them. They were in my life this whole time. But bio dad being bio dad won out with a judge who dismissed everything my therapist said. Now that I'm here, I'm pretty angry at him for pulling me away from everyone I know and love. Even 3 years later, I'm still angry at him. He's married and has 5 kids under 10. All of them have tried to get me to give in and become a part of their family, but I'm not willing to do that. So my bio dad and his wife decided the 3 of us need family therapy. They also wanted me to give my consent to them adopting me. Bio dad tried to adopt me when he got custody, but the judge did listen to me on that, and I refused to give my consent. I sit in therapy every week and I don't engage. We've cycled through about 7 therapists in 2 years, and they're trying to find someone who can make me engage. They're also giving me more grief for refusing the adoption. Some of bio dad's kids ask me to please be their brother and be adopted and be family. I always tell them their parents are not mine and I don't belong in this family, that I belong with my family. It upsets them, which angers bio dad and wife, but I won't give in just for random kids. My uncle tried to fight for custody again a few months ago, but again my wishes were dismissed. I told my bio dad if he let me go, I might not hate him and his whole family. He told me he wants me to embrace the family, not move away and never see them again. My dad's wife's parents are at their house all the time. They started to scold me over rejecting the adoption and not participating in therapy. I told them to mind their own business a few times. Bio dad told me it was unacceptable, and I needed to stop being this way. He told me he's my real dad, and him adopting me corrects a mistake that was made. I told him I'll never let it happen. The therapist we're currently in sessions with is also pushing me to accept the adoption, even though I don't engage. I'm so sick of this, and I've got a countdown going for my 18th birthday when my uncle comes to get me. But am I the a-hole for being so stubborn with my positions? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Time to wait it out. You'll legally be an adult soon. Start making a plan. Speak privately with your uncle and move out that day. My uncle's coming for me on my birthday and taking me home. Make sure if they have any stuff you need, like social security or birth certificate, that you collect that before you go. And anything of sentimental value, because once you leave, you probably won't be able to get any of that back. If you can start slowly moving that stuff to a trusted adult or friend's house so it's not noticeable, and if there is a big to-do when your uncle picks you up, you aren't forced to leave things behind. Everything sentimental I left with my uncle. When the move happened, I was not on board, and to protect myself, I went with a few clothes and nothing else. There was no way I was taking anything like that to bio dad's place. I'll never understand parents who abandon one kid and then go and have family and kids with another person. Don't give in to their pressure. Your uncle is a hero, not the a-hole. I've heard the argument that people can grow up, but then you don't have the right to expect the kid or kids you left to go yay for the new family. You don't have the right to expect them to become a part of it. Has a lawyer explained anything about your grandparents' will and estate? Are you aware of any restrictions on what your legal guardian can access? Maybe find out about locking down credit just in case. I'm sorry you had so much loss. Soon you'll be able to go where you choose. I never talked to a lawyer about any of that. When I move back home, I will. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not moving back in with my mom and hanging up on her when she called me crying that she missed me and wanted me back? My dad died when I, 17, was 11. My mom dated for a while, but nothing serious until she met Dan. Dan's a single dad with 2 kids, 4 and 6. And after dating for almost 2 years, they moved in together 3 months ago. I was cool with it until 2 incidents happened in a week. First one was coming home to the kids in my room, and my room was trashed. I'd made my bed before school and they'd pulled it apart. My clothes were all over the floor. The 4-year-old has pissed himself and the evidence was left visible on my piles of clothes. My mom had taken the kids out of the room and cleaned up the 4-year-old, but left my room as it was for me to clean up. I was angry. Dan explained it away as they're just young kids and told me not to be mad. I told him to watch his kids and keep them out of my room. Mom told me not to be mad at anyone and that these things happen. I said not if they kept an eye on the kids. I asked if I should go in and do the same to their room. Dan told me I'm old enough to know better. I told him to make his kids clean it, and Mom and Dan were quick to say they were too young to do that. The same thing happened a week later, only without the 4-year-old pissing himself this time. And this time they wrecked the photo of me and my dad that was in my room, and they broke the office chair I had in there. This time I lost it on my mom and told her that I was getting the heck out of there, and she could keep Dan and his little brats to herself because I wasn't dealing with it. Mom told me not to be so rash and said I just needed to calm down. Dan stood in front of the door to stop me from leaving. He said my mom's heart would break if I left. I told him I wasn't living with him and his kids. I went to stay with my grandparents, and my mom expected me to stay at most a week or 2 and then come home or whatever. But I see this as home now. Not having my room trashed or the bathroom all messy and gross from Dan's kids has been so good. And I'm so mad about that photo. I had a copy, but it wasn't the point. My mom's only now starting to accept I'm not coming back. She apologized a few times, but I ignored her. She called the other day and cried, and told me she missed me and wanted me to come home and she'd do anything. I hung up before she could finish, and it didn't convince me to move back in, which sent Dan off on a rant at me over voicemail about how selfish I'm being and how I'm hurting my mom. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, obviously. Are you saying Dan's children pissed in your room and trashed your room twice, and Dan wasn't the one to clean up the mess his children made? And your mother and Dan both watched you clean up their mess yourself? No repercussions for these 2 children? Dan and your mother are both gigantic a-holes and deserve each other. Made Dan's little darlings piss in his and your mother's bed in the future twice a day. The first time, yep, I had to clean my room up after them, and it took almost 2 hours, and even then, it had to be aired out, and my clothes all had to be washed. The second time I packed up some stuff and I left, so unless they cleaned it after I left, it would still be in a mess. No repercussions for the kids. Honestly, I was the one punished because I had to clean up after them. What do your grandparents think of this situation? It was super nice of them to take you in. My grandparents are upset Mom let this happen. They got along well with her before this, and even met Dan and had bought his kids Christmas gifts last year. They hate the fact she did it so close to when I was 18 too. Like she doesn't care because I'm almost out of her house anyway. Not the a-hole. All they had to do is help you clean up, put a lock on your door, and discipline the brats. Their plan of having a live-in babysitter is gone. That is the real reason right there. The free babysitter is gone. Women who chose men over their own kids are disgusting. Next story. Am I the a-hole for getting angry at a nurse who claimed my daughter isn't mine? So my partner and I adopted our daughter 2 years ago. We don't have any biological children, and we don't really plan to just yet. Our daughter is 6 years old now. She does understand that she's adopted, and we've made it clear time and time again that even though she didn't come from my belly, we still love her and treat her as if she did. The other day, I took her to a pediatrician because she said that one of her ears felt full. She did have a cold last week, so that was expected, and he said that her ear would drain out eventually. All good, the nurse comes in with a discharge sheet and commented that she would have never assumed that I was the mother of my daughter since I look nothing like her, which I don't, for obvious reasons. So then I said, oh yeah, we adopted her, so that's why she doesn't look like me or my husband. Then this nurse goes, "Oh, okay, so she isn't your daughter." I was a little confused because I thought I had just explained this whole situation. I said again, "She is my daughter. We adopted her a few years back." The nurse says, "But technically she isn't your daughter, and her real mom is somewhere else." I was really upset because what the actual f***? I said again, "But she is my daughter, and I am her mom." The nurse kind of sighed and said, "Okay, maybe legally you are, but her real mom is the one that gave birth to her." My daughter was looking up at me, kind of confused, and I can't even imagine what was going through her head. I had enough. I said to this nurse, "What the hell is wrong with you? I keep telling you that I am her mother, and you keep denying that in front of my daughter, no less." The nurse goes, "I'm just stating a fact. Biologically, she's not yours." I went again. "Yeah, because she's adopted. We adopted her and gave her a home. What, I have to push her out of my vagina to be her mother?" The nurse goes, "Well, that's the dictionary definition of what a mom is." I had enough. I told her to wash her mouth of the BS she had been saying at me and my daughter, and I left and went home. I was really shaken up at this point, and still was when we got home, and my husband noticed. I told him what had happened. He told me that the nurse was really dumb for saying that, but I shouldn't have blown up on her like that. Am I the a-hole, Reddit? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole and report the nurse. No medical professional should be saying in front of a child that you aren't her real mom due to their bias. Especially in a pediatrician's office where this kind of thing has to come up all the time. You definitely need to discuss this with the pediatrician. She was completely out of line. Absolutely, I plan to bring it up with the pediatrician. I think it's important to address this calmly so it doesn't happen again. Everyone deserves respectful care, especially kids. The sooner you address it, the better. Even better in writing. I'm so angry for you. That nurse clearly has issues of her own and doesn't know how to put that aside when treating patients. Report it to the practice manager and the state licensing board, not the petty. Report it to all of them. At every good pediatric office I've ever used, the doctor would also want to know if office staff behaved like this, if for no other reason than to make sure they don't stick their necks out for her when her crap hits her fan. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my daughter's husband see her after her birth? I, 47 female, have a daughter, 24 female named Lila, who just gave birth to her first child. I don't know much, but I know that she and her husband, Matt, 27 male, have been having issues on what to name their child. Matt wants to name their baby a ridiculous name, which I won't specifically name here, but it's a month, and not something like June, May, or April. Something like October with a middle name that's a color, and once again not something like Violet or Scarlet. Meanwhile, Layla wants a more practical name. Because of all this, they have been in marriage counseling, which hasn't seemed to work. A week ago, Layla gave birth but had to stay hospitalized because of complications. Right after her birth, she was very out of it and wasn't in her right mind. Matt took advantage of this, and when I asked him what they were going to name their baby, he stated the name he wanted. I knew Layla wouldn't like this, and that it was supposed to be a joint decision, so I didn't allow him to sign anything, which resulted in him not being able to legally sign off as her father. When Layla woke up, she thanked me for it, but Matt has been refusing to see their baby. What was supposed to be a beautiful phase in their life has been spoiled by his family bombarding her with texts and calls. Now I'm starting to think I may have gone too far, since he hasn't seen his baby in weeks. Am I the a-hole? Edit. To be clear, Matt was hours away at the time of Layla's birth. I asked him what they were going to name their baby on call, and when I heard his response, I didn't tell him which hospital we were at, so he had no way of coming in and signing anything. There are two issues here that people keep focusing on. 1. OP didn't tell the father where the hospital was, so he could not sign any paperwork. 2. OP's daughter was medically incapacitated and unable to exert her own rights after birth, and her husband was planning on taking advantage of that to name the baby something she has firmly refused. Both of these are big issues. I can feel some sympathy for a father missing out on his child's birth, but the fact that he planned to take advantage of his wife at her most vulnerable moment just to get his way is frankly disgusting. Had he not done that, OP would have told him what hospital that they were at. and the paperwork would already be done. This seems to me like a case of the father facing the repercussions of his own actions. He could have just acted with integrity and waited for his wife to recover to decide the name. And also, where is his concern for his wife in all this? His first thought is not to worry about her condition, but to win a point on the baby's name? And now he's pouting and refuses to see her? What a child. We don't have all the information, but overall, I'm with OP on this one. Everyone sucks here to not the a-hole, but if it were my daughter, I'd probably do the same. Yeah, I think a lot of people saying you should have stayed out of it are ignoring two huge toxic and dangerous things this husband is doing. Taking advantage of his incapacitated wife to make sole decisions and then refusing to see the baby for weeks. I don't know how to explain to the people who are upset OP denied the husband the right to see the birth that refusing to see the baby for weeks is worse. He's denying himself days and days and days on end from his own newborn over a name, rather than actually being there for said newborn and the woman who birthed their child and spent time recovering longer in the hospital. It's giving the same vibes as people who equate an insult to being on the same level as punching someone. Right, it's very hard to stay out of it when one of the people is incapacitated and can't actually say what they want. Wait, he didn't know what hospital she was giving birth at? Was he completely uninvolved in her pregnancy? Just like he's completely uninvolved with the baby now, he's consistent at least.